Oh, well, howdy, friends. It's Musical Mayhem here. Just wanted to let you know the first 10 and a half minutes or so are me talking about design concepts. It's not all construction and testing. If you're not so interested in that part, feel free to skip ahead. It's about 10 and a half minutes to get to the point where the construction begins. Whoa, whoa, whoa. What's up, gamers and game fans alike? I am Musical Frickin' Mayhem, and this is a Space Engineers tutorial. How is everybody doing today? Thanks for joining me, and if you were wondering, this heap of treasure beneath me is what we're going to be working on today. I started with that one back there, and I gotta tell you, boy, it didn't come out as well as I'd hoped it would have. It really did not. It was a bit of a shameful thing. I wanted it to look like this, and it ended up having all those bits hanging off the side, so what are you gonna do? Anyway, today's tutorial is all about design and construction. It should be broadly applicable, but we're gonna focus on Space Engineers itself. Thanks for joining me. Let's get right into it. We have some information prepared that we'll be working with here. When you're doing designs, when you're creating an engineering concept, there's some steps you could take to streamline the process and make it easier on yourself. That's what today is all about. So step one, or section one, is decide on what you're going to build. So you need to have something in mind. Is it a rover, a ship? Today, it's going to be a missile. So let's talk function and purpose. The missile's function is to do large damage to static grids. It should be capable of attacking ships as well. It needs to be flown by a player. It should be cheap and quick to print, and it needs to be simple and easy to use. As far as scale, we're doing small grid. We want it to be longer than it is wide, and it should be as small as possible while still honoring the style that I want to achieve. As far as controls go, they need to be WASD flight, standard flight controls. I want to have a gyro lock and a gyro spin function. I need to be able to launch it easily manually, and I need to be able to choose when to deploy my decoys. Now, the last thing to consider in Space Engineers specifically is, will this be a survival design, or is it for creative only? Now, if you want to do something that's a little more artistic, maybe a little less functional, a little less constrained by use and need, creative mode's fine for that sort of thing. But this missile today, although we're designing it in creative mode, it's meant for use in survival. So everything I do is going to be geared towards that final print and function. Section 2 is extrapolating on section 1. So we're going to take the definitions that we created in section 1 and we're going to make them a little bit more specific. So for the missile specifically, the shape should be wider at the bottom and pointed at the tip. So we knew we wanted it to be longer than it was wide, but now we also want the bottom to be wider than the top is. It needs to be remote controlled by the player, so there's no cockpit going on this. This needs an antenna, a camera, and a remote control. The decoys need to be deployable. In other words, they have to be able to detach from the ship. That means that they need their own battery as part of their function, because if they're not powered, they don't get targeted. It's electric only, and it's easy to convert between ion drive and atmospheric drive. So I don't want to get into hydrogen with this missile. That's a whole added level of complexity that I do not need. The payload itself is going to be static. So on Lucifer's left hand, which you can see to my left here, the payload was designed to be released from the missile just like the decoys were, and that added some flaws into the design. So the new design is not going to incorporate that sort of deployable warhead system. Now it also must be easy to fly and control. That means thrust in every direction. Now you can build a missile that has just one direction of thrust, maybe 2 or 3. I'm going for all 6, and That's just trial and error. I've decided that it's worth the extra resources to have the extra control. That's a whole different discussion, but long story short, I feel like I'm going to use more resources crashing wasted missiles than I will use resources building a very controllable missile. So one missile, one strike. We're like missile snipers here. Minimal design, lightweight, low resource use. So I'm putting that in here to let myself know this should not get any more complex than it needs to be. It needs to retain as light a weight as possible. And I don't want it to use a bunch of resources because I might like for this to be able to print on a ship and be part of a deployable ship attack system. So we'll see about that. That's far down the line. The last thing here is that it's a one-time use, non-recoverable missile. So it's not something that I'm going to fly overhead, drop some stuff, drop some bombs, turn around, come home, and reload. It's not like that at all. It's meant to just crash and be gone. So this is a throwaway item. Section 3 is going to expand upon sections 1 and 2 by getting into actual tangible block choices. So simple constructions may not need this step, this sort of planning. However, there is a great benefit to building sectionally. By keeping sections separate, we can modify them without disrupting other sections. So this has to do with design cascade. Sometimes when you have a design that has multiple elements to it, when you have to adjust one of those elements, it could cause adjustments to the rest. Basically, we're going to try a different method here, which would be building the control group, then adding the payloads to a new copy, then making a new copy with the payload and add the decoys, then make a new copy, armor and greeblet. And this will prevent me having to take stuff apart when I need to make changes later. We'll see about all that. But even if you're not going to build sectionally, this portion of the design process is still useful to give yourself an idea of what you're going to need, and also to let yourself know what questions you haven't yet answered. So in this case, I know that I need controls. That's a minimum of 6 thrusters, 1 in each direction. We need 2 gyros, one for user control, and then the second gyro would be for rotation. We also need a remote control, an antenna, a camera. That's all for me to be able to maneuver and see the missile and where it's headed. We need timer blocks. That's going to handle some of the more complex functions, like the what do you call it there? The unmounting from the printer, the deployment of the decoys, and a couple other functions maybe. We'll see how it goes. The payload is going to be static, like we said, so we're looking at a minimum of 5 warheads, but I'll have to do some testing to see if any more than 5 would be useful at all. The deployable decoys need 3 things to work. They need a merge block so that they can be deployed. They need batteries so that they work. And of course the decoy block, or else it's just a piece of ship floating away. And then the last thing is our armor and greebling. So once we have all the rest of the stuff in this list, we'll be able to finish it off by putting a layer of armor over it and hopefully get the design that we'd like to see. All right, folks, we've made it there. We're at section 4, and section 4 is the actual construction process. Now, I'm going to begin this process in a moment, but I want to mention a couple of things about how to get started and how to actually place those first blocks, because trust me, maybe some of you don't experience this, but for me, especially when I was newer to the game, getting from, hey, I want to build a ship, to, okay, now I'm building a ship, was the hardest step. Once I started placing blocks, everything else kind of fell in line. So begin by building the system that you can most easily imagine. If there is no system in your mind, begin by placing blocks that are not optional. These may be moved many times throughout the process, so don't get attached to where you've placed them. When in doubt, build a battery or a remote control or any other block that has multiple attachment points and will be contained inside the final construction. Work from most critical and hidden to least critical and most decorative. Final touches should include stylized armor placement, coloring, and design choices that improve the aesthetic. Very rarely will a design be good on the first try. Often, a design will require so much change and reconstruction that defining how many attempts it takes is actually impossible. The last thing is to test regularly. When you finish your control group, fly it. No payload, no nothing else, just the most basics, but make sure that it has the flight characteristics you want. Test stuff constantly. Don't just build, build, build. Hey, I want it to look like this. Build, build, build. Now it looks like this. And then you go to fly it, and you can't get off the ground because it doesn't have enough thrust, and all that beautiful block work that you've done has to be deleted, and your design is ruined. So yeah, work from most critical to least critical. So this is the very, very, very basic shape of the missile. As a matter of fact, it's probably longer than I want the missile to be. Let's get into those critical systems now. For the missile here, the battery itself has a specific problem. It's the wrong size. So I'm going to choose small batteries, I think. Yeah, so with the thought in mind that I probably want this to be a little bit wider, oops, I'm going to do this. Now that's fairly significant. We'll see how it goes from here. 20 of these small batteries will give me the same power output as one of the bigger batteries. Get rid of a couple batteries in the middle here, and I'm going to put some non-optionals, control systems, in the middle. Boom, just like that. And the only thing that really matters is that forward direction. But you could see that it's asymmetrical to give you a top and bottom as well. For me, it doesn't really matter. As long as up is forward, the missile will fly correctly. I'm going to put the gyro in here. Boom. And I'm going to put one more gyro right there. Now let's talk timer blocks. 1, 1, 1. I guess you can't place timer blocks on top of gyros. But I can place a timer block on another timer block. Hey, we're doing okay there. That's 3. And that's 4. How are we looking? Camera, merge block. Yeah, I think we're in pretty good shit. So now I'm going to place these here, and I have 4 thrusters in the forward direction, 2 thrusters in the braking direction, and then 1 each thrusters in the stabilization directions. That should be sufficient. Very good. Now I'm gonna take a copy of this because this is a control group, and I can fly it. So we've finished a section. It's so hard to fly. I know why. Now it's better. I had to get it facing the right direction. Roll it a little bit. Now we've got... Oh, that's the wrong way. There we go. Now we've got right, left, forward, back. And you can see how speedy it is. Right and left, it's still faster than I would say a standard mining ship. But that forward direction is fucking stupid. Let's watch meters per second. Ready? Boom. 100 that fast? You gotta be shitting me. It's insane. I'm spinning it in all the directions, just trying to make sure that it's not ever losing control. If I forgot one thruster, I would find out right now. Alright, friends. So I'm seeing here some block work going into place, and I'm liking it. Again, pulling a lot of design elements from this missile, just sort of scaling it up and changing function. But at this point, I want to make some changes to my thruster layout. How did I manage to fit more in less space? That's what I want to know. I know, because I put these thrusters in the corner where the forward thrusters go, and that leaves me open. Turning this, not that way, this way. And same with this guy. There we go. We have all directions of thrust, I believe. And in order to verify that, let's take control. Is there anything I can do with this that causes it to fail? No. No, we're looking good. Now, this isn't done yet. It's damn close, but it's not done yet, and you can see it's already 15 tons. Yeah, the other missile didn't weigh 15 tons when it was completed, so interesting thing to note there. And that rotation that you see is going to be a lot of fun for us. Just making sure that everything still looks good with all the added weight. So far it does. It looks pretty good. Oh, and it works as a missile already. Look at what it does to the voxels. It's not even really destroyed. Goodbye, sir. Looks good to me. Now the next step is to get the warheads in place, the payload. I think I want a sensor involved in this process. Let's turn on our symmetry. Boom. Holy fuck. This is a dangerous missile. It's also expensive, right? Because this costs 2 explosives, just one of those warheads. Warhead 39. So that's 39 times 2. That's going to be 54, let's call it 55 magnesium powder per missile. Well, you know that feeling when you're trying to make something and you're just not quite sure what it is, and then suddenly it hits you? Oh god. I know what I've been trying to build this whole time. I can't give it a name. Not exactly sure what to call this. I think it's like one of those rocket pops. Yeah. Something about it just looks tasty as shit. And the color scheme, all of it, I'm not normally a pink kind of guy, but the flesh tone, it just works with this shape. I'm thrilled, to say the least. Now, this isn't finished. I have some awkward angles that I need to deal with around the balls. But as far as getting this thing in the sky and ready to do some serious penetration, maybe even explode a gigantic load all over some enemy base, I think, oh my god, we're so freaking close. I just have to set up the sensor, really. Like, it's good to go right now. No decoys. I just bounced into the giant flying lollipop. Oh yeah, pretty sure we freaking did it. Let's go. I mean, you know, it might look a little bit but I think it's ready to fly. Let's fucking go, baby. Look, if you're trying to find penises, you can see them everywhere, right? But I don't think this was particularly phallic shaped, unless you're that sort of person who's like, oh, everything pointy is the dick. But you know, this just looked fucking good, really. So yeah, going from minimal armor and aggressive styling, and then the only thing I changed, like, I guess I added a couple more warheads too, so that might count for some weight. But let's go ahead and take control of this, and you can see it's double. It weighs double, Let's go through the progression. So when I started, I built the control group. This ended up modified several times over. These thrusters were in the wrong place and all kinds of other things. Also, one more timer block would have been pretty clutch, but I can live without it. It's not really necessary. The next step was to throw just some basic armor on here. Actually, none of these blocks translated. Every one of these armor blocks has been removed in the final design. As you can see, we went half armor, we went slopies, right? So the corner pieces, everything you see here got laid to waste. But defining that shape allowed me to add the payload, which was crucial, as well as a sensor and a couple other things. So we got it all in. The next phase was design work and color. And then here we set it up for printing by switching to a merge block instead of a landing gear. And then this version is a whole bunch of setting up the names, the whole control panel scheme, right? So I named all the blocks, set up stuff like that. And then the last version, I added in the decoys, the camera, set up the timers, and now we should be ready to fly. So let me throw a target out there, and we'll take it in just to see what happens. Let's test the first feature, which is decoy deployment. That's terrible. Oh my god! What? Ah. Gyro spin. Block off. I don't have the override on. This is why we test. This is why we test. So now if I hit this block, yeah, now we get our rotation. I don't know what speed I should come in with. I don't know how well the sensor's gonna work. Let's just give it a try. The missile did nothing. It just crumpled. We're gonna try again here. So we're gonna set off the decoys. That's pretty damn good. And let's have a look. Alright, so the penetrative power was meh. Alright, I like it. I like it. I like it. I think we're good. I think we're good. Alright, this is like test number 6 or something. We'll give those a little bit of time to drop. Then follow them. Oh. Commencing live fire test of the Red Rocket penis-shaped missile in 3, 2. Alright, so same idea. Once again, we're doing the same sort of thing. I'm gonna just try and deploy the decoys and then follow them down. Heyo! That worked. Missile slipped right past them. They were totally distracted by the decoys. Alright, once again. Here we go. That's more like it. Dude. Perfect. That was a good hit. Look it. Took the solar out. And the decoys, I mean, I was watching those guns target the decoys on the way down, so I think we're getting it now. I believe this missile is ready to go. It's done. I'm like perfectly happy with it. It's working. I think this is all working, and look at the fucking destruction. Yeah, the head-on attack definitely works. Cleaved it in two. Oh. Well, I like the explosion. I definitely think it's... I mean, you could see the radius of it here. Took out a lot of stuff. Well, my friends, I have to say that was a ton of fun. I'm proud of this missile, and I actually really like the other one that I displayed at the beginning. I'm going to work on updating that to make it more useful as well, but this one's just so much fun, you have to admit. Anyway, I want to thank you all for watching. It has been an amazing time, and I'm looking forward to the next video, though I'm not sure what it will be yet. I'm sure it's going to be a ton of fun. Have a great time. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Leave some feedback so I know what to do. And I'll leave you with this little bonus clip of me using the missile in survival. Later, everybody. Decoys launched. Front thrusters off. Oh, I hit the freaking sparrow. Ooh. I definitely hit the base too, though. It's like it bounced off of the sparrow with a glancing blow and then impacted probably... Well, that's backwards. It impacted backwards, but that base is wrecked, sir. Wrecked.